This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, guys. Okay, let's start today's lesson. That is working with pipeline scripting and also making a complete UI job running. So, I looked into the code. Okay, this is my Jenkins. Okay, the current box that I'm currently using would be Node 4 for today's class. So, let's do this. No. So current box is 192, then plus 4. So this is the UI. I'm joining in. I'm signing in and I just signed up. Okay. This is exactly the same state where we left yesterday. Just increasing the text size for it to be more helpful. Okay, forgot. Don't require precedence. Okay, this is good. Now, if you see yesterday, we wanted to use a particular node. I think we faced some issue yesterday, right? So I looked into it yesterday night. It's not because of npm, because the installation is based on YARN. So if you just type YARN, that should be fine. And if you want to know what more about YARN, go to YARN package. So for any Node.js or for any front end, YARN is a package manager, just like an apt for Linux, YARN for Node. So people use YARN to install any kind of a packages in their particular application development directories. Okay, so here this application has a code base which actually has a YARN package. So you have to use YARN to run. So I am just want to configure some other changes. I want to clear my previous directory before I start a new job, my work directory, because that will actually make the workspace clear. Yeah, I think I already kept it. I just want to see what is inside. No pattern, nothing. That should be fine. So let's build now. Okay. So if you see, my current console is running. You see, it's a success. Okay. So now, what do you mean by success? Okay. If you see, if you go into the workspace, you have modules. I mean, you have different directories, of which the public module is of most important. And this index.html and JSON and SEO would be enough for you to run this. Okay. So if you want to view, this is the index. Okay. Now, how can you check this one? Now, to run this, so how do you actually manage in the CI/CD pipeline? So this is a simple job which you compiled. Now you have something called publishers. Okay, that is in post build actions. Oh, did I? Oh, it's a build only, right? Yeah. In the post build actions, you have to publish, but where do you publish? So I can say that if I'm actually using some kind of AWS S3 features, so normally we have something called Nexus. Okay. So Nexus is a repository which is basically used for uploading the artifacts. So in this particular job, the results of this particular job, okay. So this particular public directory is the artifact that you need to upload to Nexus repository. So you can write a post build. Okay. Okay. You can write a post build which actually archive the artifact. Save and then build now. Again, it does the same job. It has to reinstall, fetch, everything. Okay, now it's a success. Now, if you see last successful artifacts, I just archived or so this is the main archive. Okay, if you go to workspace, so or you can do one thing, you can unzip. Sorry, you can use zip. You can use zip. So for that, you need to go to Manage Jenkins, Manage Plugins, search for zip. Okay, we don't have zip. Or you can actually upload. You can upload to even Google or S3. Okay, it depends. So you want to upload, you can just use zip and wait a second. I just want to check. So does it have a zip? So yeah, zip. No. We can do star icon. We have that public to release 1. Let's trace that. I think it's 1. 0, 0. What is that? No such file or directory. No, sorry. I think now it's perfect. Right. Inside. Yeah. What we can do, we can use a shortcut, open the app, configure. After this, do this. Yes, I want to, when the build is done, delete the workspace. Okay. So I would like to, so I made the result that are, and then G drive. Let's save it for now. Go to manage plugins. Now you can G drive. So we can use a Google Cloud Storage, or you can use a S3. You see, S3 publishing. So, but S3 configuration is another requirement. So you need to configure your S3 with the access key, with everything. But for now, this is just what I wanted to show. You can publish them. Okay. So your one click, that means if you open the app, not even open the app, if you just click here to build, okay, the app will be running, undo all the build process, and upload the resultant artifact to your artifact repository management. Normally, we have a self-hosted artifact repository management from Nexus. So otherwise, you can actually upload it directly to a cloud provider as well. So currently, there are two different types of people who are doing it. So if you check the output, so you see, so it's created the public and everything, but there won't be any more app because I just deleted the whole workspace. But normally this is the process, because if you delete the whole workspace, even though you have number of jobs, your workspace won't be requiring much of disk space. So as a Jenkins maintainer, it's your responsibility to maintain Jenkins in such a fashion that it's always available. So how the Jenkins will won't be available, because example, take a project where there are working around 20 people, and you have almost three different environments. Of each environment, you wrote jobs for build process, build next artifact upload, and package management, merge management from Git. So you wrote a lot of jobs. So let's say for each environment, you wrote 5 jobs. Of the three, the total 15 jobs accessible by 20 people. That each amount. So at any particular instance, in total, if you observe, if all of them actually you utilize these jobs, so you have almost about how many jobs? 15 into 20. So 300 jobs are created in your Jenkins server, which is not very less because you need workspace for each job. So if each job actually occupies 100 MB, then all the 300 will take 303 GB for one invocation. But normally it's not just 1 GB. Sometimes it can up to 10 invocations minimum per day. Then it is going to be really hard for you to maintain 30 GB disk space in such a fashion that it is highly available, because in a month it goes up to 300 GB or sometimes 500 GB. But but normally people don't really encourage such behavior. So you stick with around, let's say, 50 GB, and you always retain only if the code is required. You maintain only a number of jobs, like maximum of 3 jobs for each build. So in such a fashion that you don't really require much disk space. So this is about Jenkins. Now we have one more left out job which we need to work. That is our pipeline job. So let's go. Click on pipeline job. Type hello world. So how do you work with a pipeline job? So see, very simple. You have a general phase, and you have a build triggers, some advanced option, nothing much, but a build pipeline. So like my first pipeline discards the old job Don't follow conference bills. Pipeline script. We can just type hello world. So we can just write some kind of stages here. So this is basically declarative language of Jenkins. So what you need to understand, the pipeline is the mostly a pipeline script contains the first keyword is pipeline followed by flower brackets. So this is the main syntax, pipeline flower brackets. Inside you can mention, so all your pipeline script should be there inside. So pipeline, and that's it. Now inside, once you open this flower bracket, you have to work with what kind of agent you want to work. So as I clearly told, Jenkins has some kind of slave and master configurations, right? So Jenkins can have, so we call Jenkins call it as an agent. So which agent this job should run? Is this job should run in so you normally, if you're a service based company, you create your own Jenkins, right? And then you have almost 10 to 15 clients. So each client will have another Jenkins machine which is working as a slave. So you configure all the required parameters in this slave and you run these jobs on this slave. So the slave will have the very good amount of process and memory and a bit of a disk space, which actually requires based on the requirement. So you don't run directly on your master. Your master is only used to maintain the jobs. So that's why the agent will normally become slave one, slave two, slave three, or slave four. But currently we don't have such setup, so we are going with any. So when you put any, it means that your particular Jenkins understands that this job can run anywhere. So if it has slaves, it can actually run on slave, or it can also choose to run on master. So currently it is having only master. That's why any will work because it will run on master. So I hope you understand about agent. And now we have something called stages. What are these stages? The stages directive or the stages keyword basically requires, okay, is to understand how many stages we have. So all the stages of your particular pipeline script should be there. So the stages, once the syntax of stages would be stages followed by floor brackets. Inside the stages is where you define a stage. The first stage is hello stage, or we can just write first stage. Okay. Now, in the first stage, what needs to be done? In the first stage, I want to run certain commands, just like how I built it. So in the first stage, I'm going to write this is my first stage. Now, after the first stage, you have the second stage, right? Wait. I think I'm doing wrong. I missed one flower. Right. So if you look, these are the steps. This is my stage. Now I have to go with second stage. Stage. Second stage. So here I write the stage steps. Echo. This is okay. Okay, I think we are good with the stages. Yep, that's it. Or you can also use Groovy. Now just run this job. You'll see how this look like. The job is initiated. Let's see. You see, the job is run. This is not really similar to your first job, which is freelance job. So here started by admin. So it is actually running the maximum survivability mode, very specific to kind of what kind of a pipeline this is about. So here it ran the first stage and the second stage. You see, you will get something like this. Okay, so each stage is a different job, and these are this is like a pipeline. So you have a pipe, and this is connected with another pipe, connected with another pipe. So this whole pipeline give you the end-to-end deployment. So in the first stage, I can build it. In the second stage, I can run some kind of test cases, which are developed by test automation engineer. The third stage, I can merge the code to another branch. On the fourth stage, I can actually deploy the whole merge to direct production servers. Okay, so this actually, this is the whole thing is completely automated pipeline. Okay, so if you just check the logs, this is how it's going to look like. So you want to say, hey, this is the output of your first stage. It took around 29 milliseconds, and this is about second one, which took around 19 milliseconds. Okay, good. What else we need to do here? Um, let's run a real time one. Okay, let me just reconfigure this one. So if you want to write the syntax of pipeline, you have a, so this will have some kind of a pipeline syntax. So I want to work with Git. I want to clone Git. So I want to actually, download this. I want to open. I'm building a to-do app, but in a pipeline script. So I have to copy this and check my pipeline script. Okay. And it's going to give me a pipeline script. I mean, this is what you call this. It's a DSL. Okay, domain specific language. So Jenkins actually utilizes a DSL, which is specific to its domain. So all you need to do is just add another action. Okay, so I'm just pulling the Git here. So this is my first stage. And my second stage, okay, I'm going to add, okay, I'm going to build this particular command. So I'm going to use what? Shell script. So to shell, I have to look for shell. So this is what I'm going to use. And I'm going to write my label as build start. Okay. Now, once this is done, I'm going to write another stage. You can call any name with that. Okay. So this is my third one. Okay. Here, instead of script, I'm going to run another command, this command. Okay, I'm going to package. Okay, I think this is good, but why it is saying error? So let's see. Oh, I understand. Okay. Okay, stage. Okay. Hmm. Okay, understand why. I forgot. Yeah, I think we are good. Just not go to the back. Okay, and we have one more. It should be over there. Okay, perfect. Now save and build. So if you check, this is how it's gonna look. You can check the log. It has downloaded it. It is currently building. You see, now the job has a third stage. It took 11 seconds, 1 second, and 49 milliseconds. And this is what it's packing. What is that? It basically packed everything. So this is in short, is pipelining, and this is what they expect you to do. Okay, so maybe in a DSL or maybe in Groovy, depends, but normally people just stick with no pipelining with normal DSL. So yeah, so this is so far regarding the pipeline. So any questions till now, guys? So until now, we just discussed. I couldn't ask your inputs. So tell me what kind of questions you have, doubts, so we can discuss further. Richa, Amaya, Raghu, Rohit.
Yeah,
Any questions, Amaya?
No questions.
You are comfortable with the Jenkins installation?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now,
I'm comfortable.
yep. Raghu, any questions from your end? Raghu, can you hear me?
Yeah, Abdul.
Any questions from your end? Any
Yeah.
doubts? Good. Rohit?
yeah, I understood the installation. Actually, I'm going to do it tonight, and I'll let you know tomorrow if I have any doubts.
Okay. And I think tomorrow what we're gonna discuss. So we already covered with Jenkins now. Now what we have Docker and Terraform. Okay, so that should be enough for the next. And then we have a bit of Microsoft as well. Oh, this is gonna be a time. Okay, so let's count around 3 weeks with this. Okay, tomorrow we're gonna see Docker. Okay, so Docker is completely different concept. So if you don't have any problem, but it's always better if you actually do some kind of testing with respect to Jenkins. Try to build a pipeline job, try to build a normal job, try to push, try to maintain, and I think that will really help you to, when you come to real world, it really helps you. Okay, so this is about Jenkins, and yep, that's all from my end on Jenkins. We can look a bit off into Docker, if it's okay with you. So let's discuss a bit about Docker. So what is Docker? Basically, what are basic concepts of Docker? Let's start understanding them. Will that be fine if I start for next 5 minutes? Or shall we start tomorrow? Guys, your inputs are valid. Please give me some input.
Yes, Ashish.
Yeah,
We can start, right?
Yes.
Great. So coming to the Docker. So first and foremost, we need to understand what is Docker basically. Okay. So normally in Linux, okay, you have something called process isolation. So which we basically call namespace, isolating your system with Linux namespace. What is this Linux namespace? So I hope you already know that we work with Linux kernels, right? Most of our systems which run on Linux, they run with a basic Linux kernel, and the kernel is common across all the distributions. Now, what is this particular process isolation? A process isolation is nothing but I can run a lot of processes just like in this particular server. Okay, in the background node, I just ran a process called as Jenkins. Okay, so I can actually completely isolate Jenkins. Okay, speaking with any other process. So why you need to do that, or why do you do that? Is that the requirement is something like this to actually make sure if you are running a web server and you kept your web server in a public space, that is in internet. Now somebody tried to hack into your system. Hacking is not really as you think that it's so much hard or so much different. It is very simple. Exploiting how to get into your system in a different method. So the basic one is cross-site scripting. So cross-site scripting is something that by using cookie and also a bit of a malicious code, if you don't protect your web servers with or your code base with proper security protocol, a malicious script can actually give you access to your particular web server. Now, you are just a very small company, you run very fast, so you didn't really tested this. So you quickly developed and kept it in public space. Suddenly, this particular app got really lot of traction. A lot of people try to have started using it. Now there is a hacker who wants to, interested in this particular app and want to do some kind of illegal activity to for money sake or whatever is reason. Now the thing is that when he's trying to get into a system, he's not getting into your system with a rightful permissions. Is coming through your web process. So if your web process is completely isolated from your system, I mean from your main core system, then he has no means of attacking any other components. Of course, he can, he will do whatever your web process has access to. But normally, if you kept your web process, you normally run with a particular username with the lowest privileges. So he would be really getting into the application. Maybe he would be able to access something related to database, but he won't be knowing what else is running on this particular application, because your application is not just a monolithic. Your application can be mostly a microservice oriented application. That means you will have a one server running on one particular process. So you have a lot of services and a lot of processes running, but you can talk with only one process, which is actually very good defense mechanism in it build itself. So that's why people prefer process isolation to actually for saving or securing yourself. Now, what kind of method they have to use? They have to use something called process namespace. Each process in Linux kernel, okay, will come with is gone with child hierarchy. So normally you need to understand that any process in Linux first actually makes a clone of its master process. Okay. So what is the master process? The process with the number 1 is a master process, or we call it init process. The init process makes itself, okay, or clones itself with the parameters of your runtime process and execute the process. So this is how basic Linux works. So there is not some kind of a new process just created. It's just that the already running process, clones itself in such a fashion that it is matched with your expected process. That's what it basically does. Now, if that is the case, imagine every process is linked to the mother process, which is init process. So if the intruder gets access to one process and he is directly getting access to mother process, then he's getting access to your whole box. That is a threat. Now to remove this threat, if you isolate by using something called a feature called namespace, the intruder cannot directly access the mother process, because it would be the child process would be isolating itself in such a fashion that of course it's get created from from its init process, but still it's get enough protection by using the namespace library that it won't be possible to reach back to mother process. Okay, so imagine this, your parent process namespace, so your parent namespace and your child namespace. So init namespace, compare this, and your web server namespace. So if your web server gets compromised, only this namespace will be compromised, nothing much. So your other processes are safe and sound. So this is the way what basically people try to secure their complete processes. Now, Docker utilized the same thing. Okay, what Linux? So Docker actually did one thing really good, that is process isolation. Okay, with its Docker daemon process. So Docker daemon is nothing but a hypervisor which actually take care of all this process creation and maintenance and management. So which we basically call Docker server, okay, or Docker engine. So Docker is basically did what already exists in the Linux, okay, Linux namespace. But Docker is the first company which actually made it in a such a fashion that it is actually maintainable. So there is something called LXI. Already there are containers called LXI, which is open source cloud foundation, which is doing research towards it. But it has been, I think, almost 20-25 years back. People already, sorry, not even 15 years back, or when the Linux or Unix is getting created. I think before 10 years or 15 years, around when the Linux first kernel module was released, at the time itself, people actually proposed to create containers. The container is nothing but a process isolation mechanism, which in terms is in a technical terminology called as a server. So a container actually container doesn't has any kind of, so we're going to discuss more about containers and servers, but this is the main background of Docker. Now, I think that would be good for today. So let's dig deeper tomorrow directly with the Docker, and then we'll go further. Okay. Any questions till now, guys? Okay.
Hello, Abdul.
Yeah, Richa.
Yeah, I have a question on Jenkins.
Yeah, please shoot.
So I just want to make sure, how do we run test cases in Jenkins?
You don't run test cases in Jenkins.
Okay.
So Jenkins has a different. So automation test cases is actually run with the Selenium. Okay. So.
Okay.
So you have Selenium, Robot, and Vataya. There are a lot more. Okay. So I think so your company would be using some kind of a framework. Okay. So example, you have, let's go with I'm sorry, okay, let's go with the Selenium then. Did I use Selenium? Okay, Serenity. Okay, yeah, something called. So this is a test case development suite. Okay, so your testing team will actually use this. Okay, but you integrate this in Jenkins.
Okay, got it.
So go to Jenkins, go to plugins, integrate that. So it should have a plugin. If it doesn't have, then we have something called Cucumber. Yeah, you see Cucumber. So run Cucumber test under Jenkins CI. Install this plugin, and this will work. People use Cucumber a lot, and it depends on what kind of framework your company adopts. So obviously they have to consider that it should have a Jenkins integration. And don't worry, most of the very popular, let's say, BDD driven test cases will use Jenkins. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.